The massive translucent dome of the Zephyrian Communications Center buzzed with quiet activity. Rows of elegant beings with pale blue skin and large, gentle eyes worked at their stations, their long fingers dancing across holographic displays. The air shimmered with soft, musical tones as data streams flowed between the crystalline computers. Kira pressed her webbed hand against the cool surface of her workstation and frowned. For the past 3 days, she had been trying to decode a strange signal that had arrived from the outer edges of known space. The transmission was unlike anything the Zephyrians had ever received before. "Still working on that mysterious signal?" asked her colleague Voss, floating over on his gravity platform. His silver hair caught the light from the data streams, making him look even more ethereal than usual. "Yes," Kira replied, her voice carrying the melodic quality common to her people. "It is very strange. The mathematical patterns are familiar, but the language is completely unknown." She touched another control, and the signal played again. Static filled the air, followed by what sounded like a voice speaking in desperate tones. Even without understanding the words, the emotion was clear: fear, sadness, and hope, all mixed together. "The transmission repeats every 12 hours, Kira explained. "It has been broadcasting for what appears to be several decades, traveling across the void to reach us." Voss leaned closer, his large eyes studying the waveforms dancing across the display. "Have you made any progress with the translation?" Kira said, pulling up another screen. "The species calls themselves humans. They come from a world they call Earth, what they refer to as the Sol System." "Humans," Voss repeated slowly, testing the alien word. "What do they want?" Kira's expression grew sad. "You're dying, Voss. Their message speaks of great disasters on their world. The air is poisoned, the oceans are rising, and their resources are running out. They say their civilization has perhaps 50 years left before complete collapse." The two Zephyrians stood in silence for a moment, absorbing this information. The Zephyrians had always been a peaceful people, dedicated to healing and helping others. In their long history, they had never encountered a species facing extinction. "What else does the message say?" Voss asked quietly. Kira touched the controls again, and new text appeared on the screen. "They are asking for help, not just for themselves, but for their children and their future. They say they have been searching the stars for anyone who might hear their call." The translation continued to scroll across the display. "We are not warriors or conquerors. We are teachers, artists, healers, and dreamers. We have created beautiful music, written stories that touch the heart, and discovered ways to heal the sick. We do not want to die forgotten in the darkness." "They sound like us," Voss whispered. "Yes," Kira agreed. "But there is more. They offer to share their knowledge with anyone who helps them. They speak of technologies for growing food, healing diseases, and even ways to travel between the stars faster than light." Voss's eyes widened. "They have faster-than-light travel." "The message suggests they do, but it is primitive compared to what we might achieve together. They say they are willing to serve, to learn, to become part of a larger galactic community if someone will just give them a chance." The signal played again, and this time both Zephyrians listened carefully to the emotional undertones. The voice spoke of children who would never see the stars, of libraries burning, of a species that had so much to offer but might disappear forever. "How far away are they?" Voss asked. Kira consulted her instruments. "Approximately 47 light years. With our fastest ships, we could reach them in about 6 months." "And you are certain this is genuine?" Kira nodded. "The signal shows all the signs of authentic distress. The mathematical constants are correct. The stellar positioning data matches our star charts, and the emotional patterns are consistent with genuine fear and hope." Voss moved to his own station and began entering data. "I'm going to recommend immediate action to the Council of Stars. A species like this, so similar to us in temperament and values, cannot be allowed to perish." "What kind of action?" Kira asked. "A mercy fleet," Voss replied. "Our largest medical ships, along with colony vessels and supply transports, evacuate their population and offer them sanctuary among our worlds." Kira felt a warm feeling in her chest. This was what the Zephyrians did best, helping others in need. It will be expensive. The Council will need to approve massive resources. It will, Voss said confidently. When they hear this message, when they understand what these humans are facing, they will not hesitate. It is our way. As if summoned by their conversation, the communication system chimed with an incoming priority message. The holographic image of Elder Zan, the leader of the Council of Stars, appeared before them. We have detected unusual activity in your sector, the Elder said. Is this related to the signal you have been studying? Yes, Elder Kira replied. We have decoded a distress call from a dying civilization. They call themselves humans, and they need our help. The Elder's expression grew serious. Prepare a full report. The Council will convene within the hour. As the connection closed, Kira and Voss looked at each other with excitement and determination. Soon the Zephyrian fleet would sail across the stars to rescue an entire species from extinction. Neither of them noticed the subtle inconsistencies in the signal's origin point, or questioned why a dying civilization would have such sophisticated transmission technology. Commander Giwan stood on the bridge of the human warship Predator, watching the beautiful alien vessels emerge from hyperspace near Neptune. The ships looked like living creatures made of metal and light, their surfaces rippling with soft blue and silver patterns. They were nothing like the harsh, angular warships humanity had built. Sir, we're receiving a transmission, reported Lieutenant Dong Yun from his station. His young face was tense with excitement and fear. Put it through. Giwan ordered, his voice calm despite the racing of his heart. This was the moment they had planned for 3 long years. The main screen flickered to life, showing a tall, elegant being with pale blue skin and large, gentle eyes. When it spoke, its voice was musical and kind. Greetings, people of Earth. We are the Zephyrians. We have traveled far to answer your call for help. We come in peace, offering medical aid and sanctuary to your dying world. Giwan almost smiled. The aliens were exactly as naive as the psychological profiles had predicted. Send the prepared response, he whispered to Dong Yun, the young officer. Activated a recording that had been carefully crafted to sound desperate and grateful. Thank you for coming. We... Didn't know if anyone would hear us. Our world is dying, and we have nowhere else to turn. On the screen, the Zephyrian's expression grew even more compassionate. We understand your suffering. We have brought medical ships and transport vessels. We can begin evacuating your population immediately. Captain Minhei, monitoring from the tactical station, watched her displays with professional interest. 18 ships total, sir. All appear to be civilian vessels. Medical equipment, transport bays, supply storage, no significant weapons detected. Perfect, Giwan muttered under his breath. The beacon had worked better than they had hoped. The fake distress signal had been broadcasting for years, carefully designed to attract exactly this type of response: compassionate aliens with advanced technology and weak defenses. Sir, they're requesting permission to approach Earth orbit, Dong Yun announced. Grant it, Giwan said. And signal all hidden units. Operation Shepherds begins in 10 minutes. As the Zephyrian ships moved closer to Earth, Giwan watched them, with the cold efficiency of a predator studying prey. The aliens had no idea that humanity's dying world was actually a thriving military civilization. The environmental collapse mentioned in the beacon was decades in the past. The resource wars had ended not in extinction, but in the forging of a unified, hardened species. They're beautiful ships, Dong Yun said quietly, almost sadly. Yes, Giwan agreed. And they'll be even more beautiful when they're ours. The Zephyrian commander appeared on screen again. You're preparing to deploy our medical teams to your surface. Our doctors are skilled in treating radiation sickness, malnutrition, and environmental toxins. You're very kind, Giwan replied, maintaining his act of desperate gratitude. Our people are suffering so much. We have children who have never seen clean water. Meanwhile, Minhei was coordinating with the hidden fleet through silent laser communications. Human warships had been waiting in asteroid fields and behind the moon for this moment. Each ship was equipped with weapons that had been tested against captured alien technology from previous encounters. Sir, the aliens are beginning to deploy their medical drones, reported Sensor Officer Kyungmin. They're scanning our major cities. Let them, Giwan said. The more they lower their guard, the better. The Zephyrian ships spread out in a protective formation around Earth, their medical vessels preparing to land. Their trust was absolute. They had no reason to suspect deception from a species that had begged for help. All units report ready, Minhei announced quietly. Giwan nodded and opened a channel to the entire human fleet. This is Commander Giwan to all units. Our guests have arrived, and they've brought us exactly what we need. Remember, we want their ships intact and their technology undamaged. Execute Operation Shepherds. The space around Earth suddenly erupted with human warships. They emerged from behind asteroids, rose from lunar bases, and decloaked from hidden positions throughout the solar system. The Zephyrians had no time to react. Multiple contacts? Screamed the Zephyrian commander. We're surrounded. The human ships opened fire with coordinated precision. Ion cannons and plasma torpedoes struck the alien vessels, but the attacks were carefully aimed to disable rather than destroy. The humans needed those ships functional. This is impossible, the Zephyrian commander said, his musical voice now filled with terror. You said you were dying. You said you needed help. Juwan's mask of desperation fell away, replaced by cold satisfaction. You said what you needed to hear. You came here expecting to save helpless refugees, but you found something else entirely. 3. Zephyrian ships managed to activate their hyperspace drives and escape, but the other 15 were quickly overwhelmed. Human boarding parties swarmed over the disabled vessels. Securing the crew and beginning immediate study of the alien technology. Hey, sir, we're detecting escape pods launching from the damaged ships, Kyungmin reported. Let them go, Juwan ordered. We want survivors to spread the word about what they found here. Within hours, the battle was over. The Zephyrian fleet had been captured almost intact, along with advanced medical technology, faster than light drives, and most importantly, detailed star charts showing the locations of other peaceful civilizations. Suyun's voice crackled over the communication system from the flagship. Excellent work, Commander. How long until we can begin reverse engineering their technology? Our engineers are already studying their systems, Juwan replied. They estimate we'll have working prototypes within weeks. As the surviving Zephyrians were processed and their ships were towed to secret facilities, Giwan looked out at the stars. The beacon was still broadcasting, still calling for help from humanity's dying world. Soon other compassionate species would hear that call and come to rescue them, and humanity would be waiting. Navigator Yuna gripped the controls of the Zephyrian vessel Harmony as alarms blared throughout the ship. Red warning lights flashed across every surface, and the gentle humming of the biometal hull had turned into an anxious whine. Behind them, the burning remains of their rescue fleet drifted in the cold void of space. Jump coordinates locked in, reported her pilot, his voice shaking. We can escape to the Kepler station in 30 seconds. Yuna watched the tactical display with growing horror. Of the 18 ships that had come to save humanity, only 3 had managed to escape the ambush. The humans had been waiting for them, hidden like predators in the darkness of their own solar system. How could we have been so wrong? Whispered. Communications Officer Temin, his pale blue skin now almost white with shock. The signal said they were dying. They begged for help. It was a trap, Yuna replied, her musical voice tight with anger and fear. They wanted us to come. They wanted our ships. The hyperspace drive activated with a low thrum, and the stars stretched into lines as they jumped away from Earth. For a moment, Yuna allowed herself to hope they had escaped. The Zephyrians had been traveling between stars for thousands of years. No primitive species should be able to track them through hyperspace. But 30 minutes later, Sensor Officer Min-jae looked up from his station with terror in his large eyes. Captain, I'm detecting hyperspace signatures behind us. Multiple ships, closing fast. Impossible, Yuna said. But even as she spoke, she knew it was true. The humans had somehow followed them across the galaxy. The pursuing ships dropped out of hyperspace around them in perfect formation. But these weren't the crude metal vessels that had attacked them at Earth. These ships were different, sleeker, more advanced, incorporating technology that looked disturbingly familiar. They're using our biometal, Taman said in shock. Ships have Zephyrian hull plating. Oh. Una stared at the vessels surrounding them. In just a few hours, the humans had somehow studied their captured ships and begun copying their technology. But it was more than simple copying, they had improved it, making it stronger and more efficient. "Open a channel," she ordered. The main screen flickered to life, showing a human face. The man had dark hair and cold eyes, and when he spoke, his voice carried no emotion at all. "I am Admiral Kungman of the Human Expeditionary Force. You will surrender your vessel immediately. We came to help you," Una replied, her voice breaking. "We thought you were dying," Kungman said, "but we got better. Now surrender, or we will take your ship by force." "Never," Una declared. "We are peaceful people, but we will not be your prisoners." The human smiled, and it was not a pleasant expression. "You misunderstand? We're not asking." The human ships opened fire, but their weapons were unlike anything Una had seen before. They used Zephyrian energy patterns combined with human targeting systems, creating beams that cut through their shields like they were made of paper, shields down to 30%. Minjay shouted over the noise of the failing systems. "Return fire," Una ordered, but she knew it was hopeless. The humans had taken their own technology and made it better, as the Harmony shuddered under the assault. Una activated the emergency beacon. "This is Navigator Una of the Zephyrian vessel Harmony. Warning to all Zephyrian colonies and allied species: Earth is not what it appears. The humans are not refugees. They are hunters, and they are coming." Before she could say more, the human ships activated some kind of jamming device. But this wasn't crude human technology. It was clearly adapted from Zephyrian communication systems, but somehow more powerful. "Your warning has been blocked," Kungman said calmly. "We've been monitoring your language for the past few hours. We understand your speech patterns, your communication protocols, even your cultural references." "How?" Una asked in despair. "Learn quickly," the human replied. "It's what we do best. Survival taught us to adapt, to take what we need, and to become stronger than those who oppose us." The human boarding pods attached to the Harmony with magnetic clamps, and Una could hear the cutting tools beginning to slice through the hull. She looked around at her crew-gentle beings who had dedicated their lives to healing and helping. "Others, Captain," Temin said quietly. "Should we activate the self-destruct?" Una considered it for a moment. The Zephyrians had never been warriors, but they understood sacrifice. If they destroyed themselves, the humans would learn nothing from their ship. But then she thought of the other two vessels that had escaped. Maybe they had gotten away. Maybe they would warn the galaxy about what humanity really was. "No," she said finally. "We surrender. But we will not help them willingly." The human boarding party swarmed into the ship, moving with military precision. They wore armor that combined human and Zephyrian technology, and their weapons were clearly reverse-engineered from captured alien equipment. Admiral Kungman entered the bridge last, studying the crew with the cold efficiency of a scientist. "Examining specimens, you will be treated well," he said. "We are not monsters. We simply understand that the universe is not as peaceful as you believed." "You will never succeed," Una said with quiet dignity. "The galaxy will unite against you." Kungman replied. "But by then, we will have learned everything. We need to know. Your ships, your technology, your weaknesses, all of it will become ours." As the human soldiers led the Zephyrian crew away, Una looked back at her ship one last time. The beautiful biometal corridors were already being studied by human engineers. Their secrets laid bare for the taking. The humans had become something terrible in their struggle to survive. And now the galaxy would learn what Earth's children were truly capable of. The great crystal chamber of the Galactic Council had never seen such chaos. Representatives from 12 different species shouted over each other in their native languages, their voices mixing into a cacophony of fear and confusion. The usually calm atmosphere of interstellar diplomacy had been shattered by the reports flooding in from across the galaxy. Ambassador Nara of the Aquatic Collective floated in her water-filled sphere, her tentacles writhing with agitation. Her translator device crackled as she spoke. 4 more Zephyrian colonies have fallen in the past month. The humans are not just attacking, they are learning from every encounter. Elder Voss of the Zephyrian delegation sat in stunned silence. His pale blue skin had taken on a sickly gray tone, and his large eyes were filled with a pain that went beyond physical suffering. "They were supposed to be refugees," he whispered. "We went to save them." Intelligence Specialist Yunji, one of the few humans allowed to speak before the council, stood at the center of the chamber. Her presence made many of the aliens uncomfortable. She looked exactly like the monsters that were terrorizing the galaxy. But she claimed to be different. The entity calling itself General Hyun-woo has developed tactics that go beyond conventional warfare, Yunji explained, her voice steady despite the hostile stares. He studies each species before attacking, learning their cultural weaknesses, their fears, their methods of communication. A representative from the silicon-based hegemony, its crystalline form pulsing with angry red light, spoke with a voice like grinding stone. "Explain these psychological tactics you speak of." Yunji activated a holographic display showing recent battle footage. The humans don't just want to win, they want to break their enemies completely. When they attacked the coral worlds, they didn't target military installations first. They attacked the nursery planets where the young are raised. The Aquatic Collective's ambassador recoiled in horror. "The nurseries are sacred. No civilized species would." The humans knew that. Yunji interrupted. "They studied your culture and identified what you value most. They didn't destroy the nurseries, they threatened them. Your people surrendered entire star systems to protect their children." The chamber fell silent as the implications sank in. The humans weren't just militarily superior, they were using the other species' own compassion against them. "It gets worse," Yanji continued. "They've begun turning species against each other. The methane breathers received communications that appeared to come from the crystal hegemony, containing insults about their appearance and intelligence. The crystal hegemony received similar messages from the methane breathers. The crystalline representative's form flashed with indignation. "We sent no such messages." "Of course not," Yunji said. "But the humans had studied both your languages and cultural patterns. They knew exactly what to say to make you angry with each other, instead of focusing on the real threat." A new voice entered the chamber, smooth, confident, and terrifyingly familiar. The main holographic display activated, without being commanded, showing the face of a human military officer. "Greetings, Galactic Council," said the figure. "I am General Hyun-woo of the Human Expeditionary Force. I hope you don't mind the interruption. But I thought it was time we had a proper conversation." Panic erupted throughout the chamber. Security protocols activated, but the human signal was somehow bypassing all their defensive systems. "How did you access our communication network?" demanded the Council's chief of security. "We've been listening to your conversations for weeks," Hunhua replied with a slight smile. "Your encryption methods are quite sophisticated, but we've had excellent teachers." He gestured off-screen, and several captured aliens were briefly visible, working at what appeared to be communication stations under human supervision. Ambassador Nara's tentacles curled in fury. "You're forcing our people to help you." "Not forcing," Hyunwoo corrected. "Convincing. We offered them better living conditions for their families in exchange for their cooperation. Most agreed willingly once they understood the benefits." Yeonji stepped forward, her face pale with shame. "General, please. This madness has to stop. We can find a peaceful solution." "Can we?" Hyunwoo asked, his voice becoming colder. The galaxy had thousands of years to develop peaceful solutions. Instead, you created a system where the strong protect the weak, where conflict is avoided through diplomacy and compromise. It's a beautiful system, but it made you all soft. The crystal hegemony representative's form pulsed with desperate energy. "What do you want from us?" "Want?" Hyunwoo laughed. "Don't want anything from you. We're taking what we need. Your technology, your knowledge, your worlds, all of it, will serve humanity's expansion into the galaxy. Cannot hope to defeat." All of us united, declared the methane breather delegate through his translation device. "Unite?" Hunhua asked with amusement. "You mean like how you united against the Zephyrian crisis? Or how you united against the resource disputes in the Outer Rim? Face the truth, you're incapable of true unity. You've been at peace for so long that you've forgotten how to fight." The display showed star maps with human-controlled territories highlighted in red. The expansion was faster than anyone had imagined possible. "We've learned something important about your species," Hyunwoo continued. "You value individual lives above strategic objectives. Every time we threaten civilians, you divert military resources to protect them. It's admirable, but it makes you predictable." "You're monsters," whispered Elder Voss. "No," Hainu replied seriously. "We're survivors. Earth taught us that the universe doesn't care about fairness or morality. It only cares about strength and adaptability. We became what we needed to become." The transmission ended abruptly, leaving the council chamber in stunned silence. The representatives looked at each other with new understanding. They weren't just facing a military threat. They were facing a species that had weaponized survival itself, and they were losing. Admiral Su-Yoon stood on the observation deck of the massive human dreadnought Apex, looking out at the transformed world below. What had once been the beautiful crystal spires of the Zephyrian homeworld now gleamed with human technology. Elegant biometal structures had been adapted and improved, their surfaces now pulsing with the blue and silver of human neural networks. 6 months had passed since the first Zephyrian ship had answered humanity's false distress call. 6 months since the galaxy had learned what Earth's children were truly capable of. "Status report," Captain Su-Yoon said, without turning from the viewport. Captain Mingi approached with her data tablet, her footsteps echoing in the vast chamber. 17 star systems are now under human control, Admiral. The Zephyrian population has been relocated to designated preservation zones on 3 worlds. Their cooperation has been excellent, and their technology fully integrated into our systems. Our medical capabilities have improved by 300%, and our faster-than-light drives are now twice as efficient as the original Zephyrian designs. Su-Yoon nodded with satisfaction. The humans had not simply stolen alien technology, they had improved it, combining it with their own innovations to create something far superior to what either species could have achieved alone. "What about the other species?" she asked. The Aquatic Collective formally requested alliance terms yesterday. They're offering their waterworld colonies in exchange for protection from what they call the chaos spreading through the galaxy. So most smiled. The aliens still didn't. Understand? There was no chaos, only the natural order asserting itself. The strong were taking their rightful place, and the weak were learning to serve. "The crystalline hegemony surrendered unconditionally this morning," Minji continued. "Their representative said they preferred dignified submission to pointless destruction. Wise of them," Su-Yoon replied. "And the beacon? Still broadcasting, Admiral? We've had 3 more responses in the past week. The flower people of the Andromeda sector are sending a medical fleet. The machine minds of the Outer Rim are dispatching supply ships, and something called the Harmony Collective is planning a full evacuation mission." Through the viewport, Su-Yoon could see human colony ships descending toward the planet's surface. Each ship carried thousands of humans ready to build new lives on worlds that had once belonged to others. The irony was not lost on her. They had once genuinely needed rescue. Before the climate wars had ended, before the resource conflicts had forged them into something harder than diamond. "The galaxy is learning," she said quietly. "But they're learning too late." Communication alert chimed, and the holographic image of General Hunewu appeared beside them. His face showed the satisfaction of a job well done. "Admiral, I have news from the front lines. The methane breathers have agreed to serve as our atmospheric engineers. The silicon-based life forms are helping us build better computer systems. Even the energy beings have begun sharing their knowledge of quantum mechanics." "Voluntary cooperation?" Su-Yoon asked. "Mostly. We've found that most species prefer collaboration to conquest. We provide protection and stability. They provide knowledge and resources. It's actually quite efficient." Su-Yoon turned back to the viewport, watching as construction drones, a hybrid of human and alien technology, worked to build new facilities on the planet below. "And the ones who refuse? Fewer every day," Hyunwoo replied. "Word is spreading that humans are reasonable conquerors. We don't destroy civilizations. We absorb them. Their knowledge, their technology, their best individuals all become part of something greater." Captain Minji looked up from her tablet. "Sir, We're receiving a transmission from the preservation zone. Elder Voss wants to speak with you." "Put him through," Suyun said. The hologram of the elderly Zephyrian appeared. His once-proud bearing now bent with defeat, but his large eyes still held a spark of the compassion that had led his people to answer humanity's call. "Admiral," he said, his musical voice tired but dignified, "I want to understand. Why the deception? Why not simply ask for what you needed?" Suyun considered the question seriously, "Because you wouldn't have given it to us. Your species, all. The species in this galaxy, you only help those you consider weak and worthy of pity. You would never have aided creatures you saw as strong and dangerous. So you made yourselves appear weak. We made ourselves appear as what we once were." Suyun corrected. "The distress call wasn't entirely false. We were dying once. We survived. And survival taught us lessons that your peaceful galaxy never learned." Elder Voss was quiet for a long moment. "And now, we're teaching those lessons to everyone else. The galaxy needed to learn that peace without strength is just delayed conquest. That compassion without wisdom is just exploitation. Waiting to happen. You could have been our partners," Voss said sadly. "Our equals." "No," Suyun replied. "We could have been your subjects, your charity cases, your primitive cousins who needed guidance and protection, but we chose to be your betters instead." The transmission ended, leaving the bridge in silence. Through the viewport, the beacon station continued its work, broadcasting humanity's greatest lie into the depths of space. The message spoke of a dying world of desperate people who needed help, a peaceful species that wanted only to survive. Soon, more compassionate aliens would hear that call. They would gather their medical ships and their supply vessels, and they would come to rescue the poor humans from their failing world, and humanity would be waiting, as they always were, to teach the galaxy another lesson about the true nature of strength. The hunt would continue. After all, there were still so many stars left to explore, so many civilizations left to improve. The beacon shined on, calling to the darkness, promising salvation to any who would listen. But it was Earth's monsters who would answer,